Now to some more happy news. Tennis legend Novak Djokovic has arrived in Australia and is eyeing another Australian Open. He has landed in Adelaide, his first visit to Australia since he was deported a year ago over his vaccine status. Joining me now is IPA Senior Fellow John Roskam. John, in the lead up to the last Australian Open, we were making news around the world for locking up the world's best tennis player in a detention facility. I mean, I'm laughing about it now, but it was quite a shameful episode.
Well, it was a shameful episode that we'd do that to someone visiting the country. It was a shameful episode that we locked up Australians. It was a shameful episode that the Morrison government said Djokovic couldn't be allowed into the country because he would cause civil unrest. And he was deported. He was meant to be out of Australia for at least 3 years. The Labor opposition then supported the decision, and now it looks like the Labor in government is welcoming the champion back to Australia.
Well, are you going to be cheering for him? And I wonder how the crowds are going to react, because according to the leftist journos who were reporting on this at the last Open, he was public enemy number one. This tweet from AAP's journalist Karen Sweeney really gave an insight to some of the hate and hyperbole around this issue. She said Novak Djokovic is about to find out what it's like to be despised by all of Australia. We're all nice and laid back until we're not. Well, she certainly didn't speak for me then nor now. What do you think the crowd reaction will be to Novak?
And Rita, she wasn't speaking for me. I think Australians will welcome him back as a champion. And it's going to be difficult because he was a high-profile sports champion who spoke not just for many Australians, but for people around the world. It was a time when there was no free debate, when there was no discussion. It was a very difficult time for Australians, and he was able to say something that many Australians didn't feel they could talk about. And I think we're going to see a divided crowd at the Tennis Open here in Melbourne. I think there'll be many Australians supporting him, and there'll be people like that left-wing journalist who won't be, because they're not going to like to be reminded that they were wrong.
Well, it was so bizarre because instead of being mad at the government and the overreach for the restrictions that were being imposed, the anger was all misdirected at Novak. And it was like, well, he wants special treatment, but we've had to abide by these rules, as opposed to saying those rules were never okay to begin with, and good on him for actually challenging them. I found the whole thing quite disturbing.